Yo, 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 what's up, guys? Raul Bolufe here. Thanks for listening to Flipping Miami. On this show today, I'm pumped. I got Josh Gayman on the other side here. Good friend of mine from Arizona, killing it. Cold calling on steroids. Wholesaler doing tons of deals. We were just talking earlier about some deals he's crushing on the MLS too. So, man, it needs no intro, but I got him here. So, Josh, thanks for coming on, dude, first of all.
Raul, man, I'm pumped. I'm super excited to see you in a couple months when I'm out there in Miami, and really excited to jump on your podcast and share anything that I can.
Yeah, I love it, man. I know you're coming to visit and got some exciting things going on in Miami, so that's dope. But tell me a little bit, man, so some of our audience here that's listening are, they're fairly new to real estate. Some of them are real estate agents. Some are getting into wholesaling. Some are just business people in Miami, Florida, but looking to get into, starting their own business, etc. So I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started. What's the deal with you? What's kind of like, what do you see yourself doing in the next couple of years in real estate and your info? And kind of just give an introduction, see what can help our audience.
Awesome, man. Appreciate that, Raul. And thanks for the kind intro.
Yeah.
So I've been in real estate a little while now, not too long. I'm not too old, not too young anymore either, I guess. But I'm 33, and I got started in 2009. Prior to that, I had sold cars for about 4 years. And so I always kind of make the joke that I got my PhD in sales from selling cars and kind of learned a lot of what I actually teach now at the intensive. And we have a program called Conversion Secrets where we teach other wholesalers how to actually get the deal. Like after you get the lead, now how do you turn that into a deal and make sure that it's a profitable deal, as profitable as it can be. And so that's where kind of my sales background came from, the car business. And then in 2009, a good friend of mine who had already been in real estate for about 5 years at the time, he said, "Hey, Josh, I am looking to move to Phoenix. And because some of these properties down there, the market had been hitting Phoenix so hard," he said, "I want to go down there and start working some of these short sales and foreclosure deals. People are picking up properties, for significantly lower than the cost of build. I mean, we were getting houses back then for 20, 30 grand in a lot of cases. Now, those same houses now are 200 grand. It's crazy. But so that was kind of how I got in. I was in Phoenix, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. So one day I just didn't go into the car dealership. I texted the general sales manager at the time, Steve.
Love that.
Yeah, just burn the boats. And I said, I didn't have a lot of money in savings or anything like that. Now, I'm not necessarily encouraging anybody if they're out there and they're thinking about, should I quit my job and go full-time wholesaling? I'm not saying they should or they shouldn't. But for me, that was a decision I made that day, and I just never looked back. So we jumped into short sales. I had my friend who had, like I said, he had been in the business. He knew a little bit about how to get these short sales approved. Right. And we kind of partnered up. And over the next couple of years, we did a whole bunch of deals from 2009 to 2011. And I think it was right around the end of the year, 2010, beginning of 2011, he moved back up to Portland. He had some family stuff going on he had to go back for. And so we continued to run things together for about 6 or 8 months where we were actually doing Phoenix and Portland. And then about 8 months into it, we said, you know what, why don't we just mastermind and continue to work together on things? But I'll just kind of run my Phoenix business, you run your Portland business. And to this day, we're great friends. In fact, he'll be out there at the Miami Intensive in a couple months when I'm out there. But it's been really great. So from 2009 to 2014, basically all the deals we did, I mean, I would say 95% or 98% of them probably were short sales. And what we would do is we would try to go directly to the seller in most cases, and then we would have our investors put in an offer. We would negotiate with the bank, and we'd turn it into a great deal. And early on, we were actually wholesaling a lot of those deals.
Really?
Fantastic. I didn't even know it was wholesaling. I thought it was just like, well, hold on, we need an offer to submit to these lenders right from the beginning. And it's a lot easier if we get a number from the bank back quickly. So I kind of, I think I went to the local RIA here in Phoenix and went on Craigslist, and I found some cash flow investors that I could tell, like, okay, these guys are buying these cheap houses and doing stuff with them. So I just, cold called a few of them. And one of the guys I cold call to this day is my number one mentor in the rental business. He has over 300 houses now. He was up over to 500. He sold off some of them here as the market's gotten really hot. But that's all he does is he's a cash flow buyer. And so it was awesome. I would reach out to him, and we kind of worked out a thing where I would say, hey, if I get these deals and they're a good deal, how can we work that out? And so, we worked that out. And then in 2012, I said, you know what, I'd like to start flipping some of these properties. I saw what he was making on them. And again, at this point, I still didn't know what wholesaling was.
Yeah.
Like, I thought I was doing this thing. I didn't realize like you could actually make a business model out of it. And I heard him say the term wholesaling a couple different times. The first time I remember actually was a deal in South Phoenix, or actually like Central Phoenix anyways, doesn't matter. He bought it for $35,000. Now that house today is worth over 200 for sure. I could pull it up. But he,
nice.
I remember like a week later, a few days later, something about the house, I reached out to him and he texted me back and he's like, oh yeah, I just wholesaled that one. And I was like, wholesale, what does that mean? And so I was like, that must just mean that he didn't keep it. And so I had this false belief that the only way you could wholesale a house was you had to look at it and you were planning on flipping it or you were planning on keeping it. And because you had a lot of things on your plate, you were just like, you know what, I'm just going to pass this off for a couple dollars to someone else. And the reason I share that is I think a lot of people, that's kind of what they think wholesaling is. But it wasn't until about 2014, 2015, late 2014, short sales had completely gone away. And we went from doing 10, 15 deals per month, at which time we had a pipeline of at any given time between 30 and 50 deals going on, because these short sales, they would take 3-4 months on average to get approved. Once in a while we'd get lucky and they got done in 2 months. We had more that would go the other way and take 10 months. But usually it was, 3-4 months to get approved. And so we had to have this big pipeline, and not always was the bank willing to sell it at a good deal, and all these things happen. But it was enough to rely on. And so we literally, all we did was we called the foreclosure list every single day. Everyone in Phoenix that hit that 3 months past due and the bank said, okay, here's the notice of default. We're going to foreclose in 3 months. We would call that list. And in fact, we didn't even work to skip trace it or anything like that. We found this vendor that would send us the list every single day, or Monday through Friday. And they only had numbers for about half of them. And I was so naive at the time. And we were getting deals that we called the ones that we got the numbers for and moved on. And that was it. And then we'd call the next ones the next day and do that. And we would get, like I said, a lot of deals, 5 to 10 new deals every single month. And then we'd be closing more of that because we built up a pipeline. And in 2014, it completely dried up. And I remember actually I couldn't sleep. I was like freaking out. My income had climbed up to about the $500,000 mark per year just doing those short sales and flipping those. We had bought in a couple rentals starting in 2012. That we had cherry picked from short sales. So now it's 2014. I think I had probably about a half a dozen rental properties. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? I have no source for buying rental properties anymore. I have no source for feeding my family and paying my light bill anymore. Like, what am I? And I remember literally being up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning playing Pac-Man because I couldn't sleep. I was so distraught and stressed out, thinking like, how am I going to get these deals? And I came across a podcast, Sean's podcast, Sean Terry, which actually, I think kind of how me and you met later in a mastermind that Sean was also in. And he was talking about sending direct mail to equity sellers. And it wasn't the direct mail part that really got my attention. It was the fact that he was wholesaling deals to people that had equity, because the reason that the short sales had gone away was now that there wasn't really any equity. There wasn't any negative equity. Everybody had pretty much, if they were underwater on their house, they had short sold it or they had foreclosed. And now pretty much everybody had at least some equity, not like now in the market where it's, ran up for the last 12 years, but 10 years, depending on your city, whoever's watching this right now. But I was like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. Like, so I could just get right to the decision, because with the bank, we'd submit the paperwork, they'd do an appraisal, then they'd come back and say, this is what we want. So to get to that point where we knew what the bank wanted would usually take 2 to 3 months, right? And then another month to 2 to negotiate and get it approved or not approved, and we'd sell it as a realtor or whatever. And I was like, holy cow, we can bypass all that and just get right to the kitchen table and talk turkey like on day one. Like, this is incredible. Yeah. And so I sent out my first campaign, and it would have been like, 2014, mid-2014, whatever it was. And I got one deal from that. I spent $1,000 on direct mail. Not a lot of money, but to me it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to spend $1,000. See, prior to that, everything I did was prospecting. We called that one list and that was it. So we were going to them. We physically call, smile, and dial each number.
That's crazy.
And it was nuts. So now I'm like, holy cow, I can just send mail, but it costs a lot of money, right? So I think for that $1,000, we got about 1,000 mailers. because we had to buy the list, then we paid for the mail, and then, all that good stuff.
Probably sent a yellow letter.
Yeah, I think it was a yellow letter. It was a yellow. You know what? Actually, it was a postcard. The very first one. Yeah, I was so cheap. I went with only a postcard.
Love
it. I spent $1,000. We made a 10 grand spread on the deal, and I didn't know how to assign it or any of that kind of stuff. I had heard the term, but the title company I had worked with short sales, they said, no, you need to close. And I didn't think much into it. I was like, well, I've got a buyer. And so we double closed it, and we made about $8,500 on that deal.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, cool. That gives me $7,500 to live and pay my bills. And then I put $1,000 into marketing again. And I did that, and I got another deal. And I did that again, and I did another deal. And it wasn't probably for about 6 months before I finally, kind of was like, you know what? I'm going to kind of go all in. And we started spending $5,000 and $10,000 per campaign in direct mail. Yeah. And after doing that for about maybe 6 months or a year, at this point now we were wholesaling several deals per month.
Yep.
I was sitting there one time in my office, and my partner at the time, Mark, I think you've met Mark, right? Mark McIntyre?
Mark.
Tall guy?
Big dude. Yeah, big dude. Kind of
like basketball at ASU. So he comes into the office, I think he'll be in Miami as well. So in a couple months, he comes in, he's telling me about this fix and flipper. So now we've shifted our business. Like, all we're doing is trying to get properties under contract.
Yeah, wholesale.
Wholesale them out. And he comes in, he goes, I was just talking to this guy. He was driving a property, and he met some guy that was like, the house across the street was flipping it or whatever. And he starts talking to him, and he's like, the guy told me that he has 30 fix and flips going on right now, his small little company. And he asked him, he said, how do you have so many deals going on? And the guy goes, he goes, well, it's kind of interesting. We kind of create a message, and then we just like send it out to everybody. And like, we get a ton of people calling us back, and we get these deals, and so much cheaper than direct mail. I'm like, my light bulbs are going off. I'm like, this is insane. Because I remember back at the car dealership, the dealership kind of did the same thing. They didn't do it automated, but they would hire like 50 salespeople, literally at Midway Chevrolet here in Phoenix, a huge dealership where I sold cars. They would hire about 50 salespeople or have 50 people to give in time, and they would only need maybe 5 to handle how many people were coming into the store. So everybody else, they would be like, hey, go upstairs, pound the phones for however many hours, and if you set 2 appointments, then you can go outside and you can try to get some foot traffic, the traffic that was already coming in that they were paying for through marketing.
Right.
And so basically they were using human capital to get tons of cold calling out, right? Cold calling on steroids through humans. But when Mark had told me that this guy had 30 deals going on, all from this, sending out a message, I was like, no way. So we looked into it, and within the next day, we had a campaign go out. It was kind of a beta version. We were overpaying for the source we were using to send out our messaging and all these types of things. Our message wasn't very good. And we immediately started getting leads and deals, and that was kind of the start of cold calling on steroids. So now that was, almost 6 years ago. It's evolved into where we found the best sources for calling out. Do you use RVM or do you use broadcasting? What's the difference? It's a huge difference. For the record, I won't get too into it right now, but RVM it pales in comparison to cold calling on steroids the way we teach it through the voice broadcasting and what lists, what numbers do you do, cell phones or home phone numbers or both? The sequencing, the volume, how do you get the numbers? All that sort of thing. And anyways, here we are today, in 2019, business is booming. We wholesale a ton of properties, even in a competitive market like Phoenix, same as you in Miami. Yeah. And we're always looking for ways to do more deals. We do direct mail, we do pay-per-click, we network, we scrape the MLS. Cold calling on steroids is still our main pillar. And, and that's pretty much it. So we just sit here in Crush City, Phoenix, like we do in Miami.
Beast. I love that, man. Yeah, there's so many good little points. And I love asking for introductions, not only so our audience can know who you are, but I've always been intrigued my whole life, like understanding like what made people tick. And I relate with you. I remember we spoke about this. I started in the car business too, selling cars. And so, like what took Josh as a car salesman, right? Maybe doing good, knowing you're probably figured out a way to sell a bunch of cars, right? So you're probably doing good at selling cars. And like, what triggered you to then like, all right, let me drop this. Let me send a text to this guy and say, yo, I'm not going back. And then like start your own thing. That's risky, right? Like although you had a partner that's like, he knows what he's talking about, it's still risky, right? Like you're leaving an income that you're like, all right, I'm comfortable making X amount of money selling cars. I've done it. Shit, but now I'm going to drop that and go with this guy or start my own thing. Kind of like what I want to know is like, what happened? Like, what were you thinking in your mind at that moment? You're like, Like, what made you push a decision? Was it a one moment? Did it take a month? Did it take a day? Was it 3 days? Was it a year? You know, like, what made you like really make that decision happen?
Gosh, man, Raul, it kind of makes me excited just to think about it because I really haven't thought about the way I actually felt in that moment, probably since almost then. I mean, I've told the story different times, but I don't know if I've ever really asked me, like, well, what were you thinking when you went through that? You know, it's crazy. I always knew. So when I was in cars, I already knew it was going to emerge into real estate. So I think I somewhat had a limited belief that I needed to get all this information before I could start taking action in real estate. And when Ben reached out to me, he said, what's going on in Phoenix? And I'm coming down to Phoenix. I immediately was like, okay, I can do this. If Ben's doing it, I can do this. And for the record, Ben wasn't doing a ton of business back then. I mean, now he crushes it. He does a lot of multifamily wholesaling and investing up in Portland, Oregon. But he wasn't doing tons of deals at the time. You know, he was kind of like your average agent, maybe a little bit better than your average agent type of a thing. Super smart. But he was also brand new to Phoenix. Like when he called me, he was like, I'm going to come to Phoenix and do this. And I was like, well, sweet, this will be a perfect time for me to jump on board too. So he came down to Phoenix and I immediately did it. And I think what was going through, you know, the morning when I actually sent that text message, I think he had been down for a couple weeks at this point. We talked a little bit and we were like, okay, how are we going to get our deals and what are we going to do? And we really didn't know exactly, but I did know that it wasn't going to happen spending, you know, 60, 70 hours a week at the car dealership. I mean, you sold cars too, you know what the hours are like. And for some of you guys out there, even if you're just, you know, working a 9 to 5, it's really tough. You get done with your 9 to 5, there's only so much energy now. You can get a ton done on the weekends. You can get a ton done in the evenings. But one thing that I've learned is, you know, you kind of got to monitor your energy levels. And so, you know, what I think it really just was the old Tony Robbins things, you know, hey, you got to burn the boats if you're going to do it. And so I finally got to a point where I thought, you know what, I'm plugged into somebody who has the information. I was confident in myself. You know, I was confident in my faith in God that he's going to take care of me. And I just went for it. And so I think, you know, if to the viewers that are out there watching this right now and listening in, I think the biggest takeaway is, number one, have faith in God. Right. Number two, have faith in yourself. And then number three, plug into somebody. Right. Just like Tony also talks about modeling somebody. So in this case, you know, Ben was not doing like millions of dollars. Nowadays, you can plug into YouTube and you can plug into podcasts and you can find Raul, you can find Josh, you can find a lot of people out there that are wholesaling. And I would tell you to be leery of who you're following. Okay. Because there's a lot of people right now that they're selling information products and courses and they're just copying a product that already exists, putting their name on it, marking it up. And so there's a lot of people you can follow that maybe they've only been wholesaling for a year or two. In fact, maybe they've only done a deal or two.
I've heard of that before.
You know, and they were like, well, it's easier to be a guru than a guru. And so that's the one thing I would say be careful of, like, be careful who you follow. But I don't think it takes long. I mean, you can plug into YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and probably just searching, you know, wholesaling real estate, find 5 or 10 people that are out there actively doing it, you know, and then from those 5 or 10, if you kind of plug in and you follow, you're going to find at least 1 or 2 pretty quickly that you see, holy smokes, these people are actually doing deals every day. Like, so now, you know, I teach real estate. We've got different courses for marketing, for converting sellers, you know, the sales part, for building a cash buyers list overnight and talking to cash buyers and the paperwork and all that stuff. We've got a scaling course. We do intensives and we do all these different things. None of that ever takes me away from the day-to-day, right? So I still run a pretty small team. We're super profitable. We're super efficient, but I'm in the trenches every single day. And that's, I think, the difference of why, okay, now everybody's doing voice broadcasting. Like, what else can we do? We're still doing that. Like I said, it's my main thing, but there's a lot of other things to do too. We just recently, you gave me this tip about 8 months ago, how to kind of scour the MLS and do that the right way. And I was just telling you before we jump on, we've done 10 deals in the last just 2 months just from that. Like, and it just added that as an existing thing. It doesn't cost any money. So my point being, you know, I think it's easier than ever to find, you know, back to where I was in that mindset. My mindset was like, okay, who can I plug into that knows what they're doing? That, okay, I'm confident myself, but I need to know what steps to take, what action steps. And so, you know, anybody out there following, I know, Raul, I've been following you for a long time, so I would encourage everybody. I know they're already on your podcast right now, but maybe they're just tuning in for the first time. Like, follow this guy. Follow you on Instagram, follow you on YouTube, follow your podcast. And guys, I'm on all those platforms as well. You can find me. But like, we literally post almost daily new deals. sold deal. You know, we're putting on our story, we're going by a property, we're getting off the seller call, whatever it is, we're blasting out properties. And all you have to do, you find somebody that's doing it and then literally just do exactly what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have some success and it's just going to grow from there.
No, and I've been following Josh. I've been following you for a while, and you're one of the few, I think probably the only one that I see that, like, I don't know if you have like a GoPro in your office or something. You have like a camera set up, right? Like, and like a lot of times you'll just record you working there.
Yeah. This is recorded right now. I've got 2 on me right now, not even counting the Zoom that we're podcasting on right now. My sales department in here's got a couple cameras going on. Our conference room's cammed up. We're literally cammed up all the time, and that's why we try to get all that content, you know, for teaching moments.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. But yeah, so I mean, kind of like what I heard there, man. You're like switching. Your turning point was, I mean, I know I could do this, right? And you mentioned, I always thought that I was going to end up in real estate for whatever reason, right? Let's call it someone, maybe people you knew, maybe books you read, whatever.
Honestly, you know what it was, real quick? I'm going to cut you. It was just, I liked cars and I liked houses. And I was like, houses are a lot more expensive than cars. I'm pretty sure you can make more money on a house than a car. That's as simple as it was.
I love it. And it's so funny because I'm the same way. Like I thought so naive. And that sometimes being naive is so good. I literally thought the same. I'm like, all right, if I could sell a $200,000 house or a $20,000 car, I'm thinking I can make more commission there. I was kind of like the same way. I thought if people are flipping these $100,000 houses, $200,000 houses, and they have to be making more than flipping a $2,000 car, like that was literally all I was thinking about. So man, and you kind of just said, all right, this guy's in here. It's a perfect opportunity. Let me just jump into it. I know that being in this position, in your case, the car salesman, is not for me forever. So you're like, fuck it. Why not do it right now? And that's kind of what happened. And I love that. I think people think too much, and that's fine. It's okay to think, but you have to be confident in your ability and yourself that you can figure out something that's coming.
Yeah, that faith goes a long ways. And I saw, and the other thing too is I saw and I was like, versus, because I did early on, I was like, I got my real estate license right away back in 2009 at the exact same, at that moment. We started doing deals right away, but I also immediately got licensed. But I've never been a big retail agent, I've never put my signs in the yard and went and showed buyers properties. I mean, not say never, but it's been years since I've done any of that. And even when I did, it would only be if it was like a close personal friend looking for a house or something. Now I literally can't afford to go out and show houses, even if it's a friend. I refer that out because what we do in wholesale real estate takes 10% of the time or less per transaction. And we make on average 3 times as much as a realtor. Yeah. So if you're out there watching, you're like, I want to get in real estate. Should I be a realtor? Should I do this wholesaling thing? Guys, just know that on a $100,000 house, the going rate on the market, you're going to make $3,000 as a realtor, or you can make $10,000 as a wholesaler. Yep. In fact, on our in-house deals that we get from our own marketing through cold calling on steroids, we average over $20,000 per deal. Now, these are deals that literally take under 5 hours from the point of contact with the seller until we close escrow. Yeah. Now it's not like there's not more time that goes into the business because we got to set up our marketing. We have to actually run the business. Right. And we have to talk to all those seller leads before we get to the deals. Yeah. But on those ones that are deals, right, you're going to do all that stuff if you're a realtor as well. So that's no different. So just each transaction, I mean, a lot less time, a lot less work, and a lot more money. No,
it's insane the business that wholesaling can provide, and I think that's why both of us and at least some of the good guys we know that are doing info are like so passionate about it because since we're doing it every day, we're like, dude, like it's not easy, but dude, it's so simple. Like you can actually make money, you can actually make a good living. Forget making millions and millions. Let's say that's not someone's goal, but you can actually do a lot with your time. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why we get so passionate.
Out and get 1 deal a month. And anybody out here listening, there's no reason if you plug into Raul, you do the right things, you take that, and it's almost, I mean, it's almost impossible, right? I'm using the word almost. I'm being very honest and blunt. Like it's almost impossible. If I was brand new and Raul, you said, Josh, do this, call these people every single day, or go out and door knock, but do it this way. This is what you're looking for.
Say this,
This is what you're going to say. This is how you put the paperwork together. And the paperwork's really easy too. And you go out there and you do it every day for 30 days. It'd be very hard not to get 1 deal. And that deal is probably going to pay you double what you're making at your 9-to-5 job right now.
It's so
that's
true.
not counting if you get 2 deals or 3 deals. Oh my gosh, right? And what if one of them's a big deal? We get those all the time.
Which happens, yeah. Dude, I love that. And I want to get into more of like the business part in a little bit, but I'd like to ask this. So you've been through a bunch. You started 2009. We're now 2019. Started wholesaling a couple years ago. Now you run a team. You were solo. What's like the biggest lesson that has taken you the longest to learn?
Gosh.
And that's a loaded question.
Specifically, I think maybe that you don't have to have a big team and you don't have to spend a ton of money to do a lot of deals and make a lot of money.
Okay.
And so, like, I go back and I say, when I say we were sending a lot of direct mail when we started doing cold calling on steroids, we were sending out 50,000 mailers per month, right? So it would cost us, in fact, the very last month that before we turned on CCOS, we sent out, it was closer to 80,000 pieces, and we spent 50 grand. That's the most money I've ever spent in 1 month on direct mail, 50 grand. Shit. And literally that was the month before because we were looking to ramp, but then CCOS came in and we scaled mail back, right? And did all this calling. And but it doesn't just stop there, right? On the marketing, it's also on the internal side, like sales things. Like I have multiple times over the years hired 3, 4, 5 salespeople at a time and thought, well, if I get more salespeople, I can do more marketing. We're going to do more deals. We're going to make a ton more money. And the reality of it is that every time I've tried to do that, right, we've just converted way less. So we have to spend more in marketing. We have to spend a ton more in energy and time. And I've actually made less money when I've done that. Now, I'm not out there saying you can't scale it and you can't hire more acquisitions people and do more deals. But if you do that, you have to understand what comes with it. You have to train them. You have to manage them. You have to spend the money on the marketing and the time on the marketing to feed them, right? And then even if they're getting deals and stuff like that, then you got all these files and you got to deal with the back office. So what I found is that it's much easier to run a smaller team, be super efficient with your marketing, and you can have an amazing lifestyle in your business. Now, if you want to compete with Zillow and OfferPad and Open Doors and some of these other companies, you're going to have to scale, right? Like it's going to take a lot of people. And the number one problem that those companies face is being able to convert at a high level. I mean, they'll send out hundreds of thousands of mail marketing pieces and spend money on radio and TV and all this stuff to get their message to hundreds of thousands, probably millions of people per month between the markets that they're in to get some deals. But really, like, these people are calling in. If anybody out there, contact these companies and see how their sales process is, right? Versus they call in and they talk to Raul's right-hand sales guy, or they call in and they get Brandon in my office, right? We're able to get so much deeper, handle those objections, do all these things. And these are all things that we'll be teaching in Miami. We teach them in our courses, right? I know, Raul, I talk to you a lot. Like there's not a whole lot of new tips and tricks. Like we're all pretty much doing the same things, right? And so just by plugging in and knowing how to do that, but it's kind of hard to scale that and to get a lot of people going that deep.
It's tough.
So I know even in like some of the masterminds we've been in together, it's not uncommon to hear somebody in the room say, we spent our nut is 70 grand. Like they're spending 70 grand a month. They have to make 70 before they break even because of their mail costs, their website costs, paying their acquisitions guys, paying their disposition guys, paying their transaction coordinators,
whatever.
So we're super lean. In fact, even with our small team, the same team runs our information business and runs our rental property portfolio. Our guy that does our social media, and he also takes our pictures for our wholesale deals. He also takes our pictures for our rental properties. Our sales guys, they do their own transaction coordinating with the title company, right? I still do disposition. I love disposition.
I see that. You're always posting like the MailChimp blast. I love that. I got that idea from you. I did an Insta story like that.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and anybody out there, like, you can overnight get a realtor database. It's probably the quickest way to do it overnight. Now, how you upload that database to MailChimp and don't get shut down right away for importing cold emails, there is some technical stuff. You got to get information, and we plug into Raul, plug in myself. We'll teach you that stuff, but it's crazy. And you can literally build an overnight buyers list. So if you're out there like, well, I don't have cash buyers, right? There's ways to overnight. And I promise you, if you're in any market in the United States, you get that list and you send a good deal, all of a sudden people are going to be like, wait, who's this guy? They're going to be calling you. They're going to say, how do I get all your properties? Yeah. They're going to be forwarding it to their investors and forwarding it to their business partners and their lenders. And all of a sudden you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, everybody knows who I am and what deals I do, even in a big city like Phoenix or, you're in Miami.
Yeah. Just make sure you send a good deal. And yes. I would recommend sending an off-market deal at first. And that would be my advice. I tried that with an MLS deal and it wasn't fun. So
yeah. And I mean, to really hammer that point that you just said, make sure it's a good deal, because there's not a worse way than to get people to quit paying attention to deals than to send out a bad deal. So we're super careful of that. Now, occasionally, sure, we'll send out some deals that are like, I think an investor could make some money. I think this is a good deal, right? But we don't ever send out junk deals and just hope somebody's going to foolishly buy it. Like, every deal that we send out, we know there's money to be made there. Now, depending on the market cycle, sure, we send out, a deal or two a month out of maybe 15 that doesn't sell, but we know right away and it's still marginal. It's not like a bad deal where people are going to quit looking, right? But if you do that, if you send out bad deals or you put comps there and you're manipulating them and they're not real comps, like, people are just going to be like, this is just another junk wholesaler. This is another, jackpot, and they're not going to pay any attention to your deals versus making sure they're good deals. And like I said, it'll just spread like wildfire. You'll just watch your list grow really fast.
Yeah, no, that's a tough way, but no, I love that. I from the beginning, like in the beginning of your point, from what I heard, and it's something that I started to realize from actually going to some of these masterminds and talking to high level people like you and Kent, Sean, Brett Tan, all these guys. Dude, profit first, man. Net profit first. Some people focus on the top line a lot. Oh, my company made 5 million, 3 million, 8 million. It's like, yeah, but what did you really make? Like, what did you take home? I don't know. Or very low margin. And that's okay, right? Some people have that ego thing and they love it. But I think it's like a lesson that's taken a while to learn from what you told me is like, dude, focus on the net profit. Like, be lean, be profitable, and that's how you really enjoy your business.
Yeah. And then if you're lean and you're profitable, you can still average easily $10,000 a deal. Like I told you guys, we're 20 now in-house deals. Sometimes we'll do JV deals or deals from the MLS where we make we average less of a profit, right? But there's no cost on those deals. So even if, let's just say, you're averaging $10,000 a deal, like, if your margins are high, right? We try to be over 70%, meaning for every 10 grand we bring in, at least 7 of that's profit.
That's
now, you only have to do 3, 4, 5 deals a month to really change your life, to take that vacation, to bring your wife home, to help out your parents, to give to your church, give to your community, whatever it is that's going to really make you come alive. It's right there within your grasp.
That's beast, man. I love that. I think the listeners should really like rewind that and listen to it twice because it's beast. But anyway, so one of the questions I like to ask people, and before we kind of like with some finishing touches here, dude, what do you feel is the $100 million play in real estate? So particularly real estate investing.
Like per deal, per month, per year?
$100 million, like if you want to build a $100 million company in real estate investing,
yep.
What's kind of like comes to mind?
So a couple of things. Number one, if you're trying to build a $100 million thing, I would say why, right? Or even if you say I want to make $100,000 this year, it still comes back to why, right? Like, what are you actually trying to do in real terms of your lifestyle? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to retire your wife? Are you trying to buy back your weekend? Are you trying to spend more time with your kids? Are you trying to have better vacation, right? And it might be all those things.
Right.
Even if it's all those things, and it should be, right? Like, write down all those things and just do the quick math. And anybody out there listening right now, I would encourage you, pause this real quick and then listen to the rest. Or when we're done, do this right away. Like, write down your perfect life, right? What kind of vacations do you want to take? How often? What kind of car do you want to drive? Where do you want to live? Whether it's rent or buy, doesn't matter. Where do you want to live? How much is that going to cost a month? How much do you want to have to blow a month, right, for entertainment? How much your utility is going to be? There's only so many things, and just put big numbers on those and then figure out what that is per month, right? Because it's real easy. People get hung up on, they're like, I want to make $5 million next year, 10 million. This is one of the things I did wrong for a long time too. You're asking me about, like, if I could go back, what's one of the long things? I mean, I was chasing these big numbers, right? And it was usually a per year number. Okay, I want to make 2 million this year. Now I want to make 10 million this year, right? But usually it comes back to like, well, how much do I need per month? And then now from there, if okay, if I could make 20,000, if I could make 50,000 per month, every single month, I can do everything I want to do, right? Now, you might still have goals later and still want to get to the $100 million thing because maybe it's pride, maybe it's ego, or maybe it's just a creative genius in you that knows how much impact you can bring to the marketplace, and it's fun and you want to do that. All that's great, right? But first, like, take care of your needs and your wants, your biggest desires first, before you look at like, okay, now I just want to compete with, I want to take a company public or whatever. Yeah. And so a lot of times that number is so much smaller than the number we're chasing. And then if you can get to that number, right? So let's just say it's $10,000 a month. I know a lot of people, especially specifically coming to the intensives and stuff, I always ask this question, like, what month, if you had this number hitting your bank account every single month on the first, before you got out of bed to go work Monday morning, the first of the month, what number does that need to be that your life would change? And usually most people say $10,000. So it's $10,000 you want to make a month, right? Then how do you get to a place where you're profiting at least $10,000 a month consistently? Now, because of the profitability of this business, like you were talking about, Raul, one deal is going to get you there. It'll probably make you more than that. But you need to shoot to do, at least 3, 4, 5 deals so that even in a bad month, you do 1 or 2, right? And stay consistent. Now, if you're doing that, okay, now I'm doing that. Now I'm making $10,000 a month consistently, right? On a bad month, I maybe do 1 deal for $5,000, but on a good month, I made 30 the month before. So I'm averaging more than 10, but I'm always making at least 10, right? I'm good. Okay, now how do I convert that income and start and get to a point where I'm making $10,000 a month passive? And this is why I started buying rental properties in 2012, and I've never looked back. And Chris, I was telling you guys before, still my rental property mentor. It all started when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad at 19. I wasn't even selling cars yet. I was playing football, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the secret to being rich. Like, if you can have passive income, meaning the money comes in whether I get out of bed and work or not, and that income's greater than that 10 grand I need to live my dream life, like that is financial freedom. And there's other benefits to passive income, like, you almost pay no taxes, right, etc. But the biggest, so I would say, hit that goal with active income and start converting it to passive income. Now, it's going to be really hard to just immediately start making $10,000 a month passive income. And I've seen a lot of people that are crushing it, maybe making even $100,000 per month in their wholesaling business, and they don't start buying rental properties or cash flowing assets because they get hung up on, well, I don't really want to deal with those single family houses or whatever. I'm going to do a big syndication. I'm going to do a big multi-family apartment building, whatever, right? Number one, it's super competitive to do that. Number two, the market's at all-time highs right now, so that's more challenging. Now, I'm not saying that there's not an insane opportunity to do that. There is, but start smaller. Start doing deals. Get your first. I remember the first rental property I bought back in 2012 was a seller carry deal. I had to put about $4,500 of my own cash out to acquire the deal. The payment was, including taxes, insurance, and everything, was $368, and I immediately rented it for $800. And I got that first rent check, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what it's like. Like, I've got $430 or whatever it is to, like, do whatever or to invest in more, right? And it wasn't, but 2 or 3 months later, I got another deal, and that one only cost me $2,500 out of pocket. That property, that second deal, the $2,500 out of pocket, we sold that property last year, and we 1031'd about $70,000 of equity into 3 properties. So that $2,500 I spent on my second rental property ever is now worth about $150,000 equity across 3 properties, and it puts $1,500 into my bank account every single month, whether I work or don't or whatever, as long as there's a tenant in there, right? Yeah. So if tenant moves out, we get it filled quickly. So, you can build that up. And I hope I didn't side skirt your question with all that kind of stuff, but it is important, start building passive income, and it's a snowball effect, right? Now I make way more money from that business than I do from wholesaling deals every day. But you know what's awesome? That my wholesaling business still makes insane money that I can use on my lifestyle, and I get to cherry pick the best deals for my rental business. I get to get them with instant equity every single time. Like I said, it was $70,000 when I sold that house. But then I bought 3 wholesale deals, right? And do 20, 20, and 20 and had 130, and now they've appreciated in the last year, and it's higher than that. I was just updating my portfolio. But back to your original question, right? Like, if you want to go out and make $100 million, let's say you're doing all that stuff and you're like, I want to make $100 million, right? Then the biggest thing is, I would say that it's going to come with incredible risk, okay? Because you're going to be doing development plays, you're going to be building, you're going to be doing big commercial projects, and there's sick money to be made doing all that stuff. But also, I had just I was about to get into real estate when the market crashed last time. So I kind of got saved by the grace of God, but I hadn't jumped into the business yet. I was still just selling cars when it crashed. And so I got in when it was super cheap. But I remember seeing the other people do that. And I had a lot of mentors that are still mentors that got burned and scorched during those times. So there is risk, right? Anytime that happens. But you can do that. There's a ton of money to be made. The other way of doing that would be if you've got a ton of business experience and you do want to look at scaling. I think there's a huge opportunity to, if you have the right models and you can get, 5 or 10 different markets wholesaling 10 houses a month, there's going to be a play. I think there's already plays for this right now, but there's going to be a bigger play to sell off your systems, your operations, and your personnel to these iPlayers, Zillow, OfferPad, Open Door, right? Because once companies go public, it's not based on how profitable the company is anymore. It's now based off of how valuable do the investors see that company in terms of growth and in terms of opportunity. So I remember I think his name's Eric Wu, right? The CEO of Open Door, if he's still the CEO, this was probably like in 2016. And he was talking about, I used to have it printed out on my wall, but he quoted, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit now, but he basically said, we're not concerned with profit right now. We're looking for growth. And that's the reason he was doing that, because they're looking, if they can grow that model and have a proven model, they can get people to buy their stocks. They can get somebody to buy out their company. There's a ton of money in those plays. There's insane. You can make that $100 million, right? Selling off that company. But for me, I kind of laughed at that and used it as motivation. I was like, sweet, our biggest competitors don't care about profit. I'm going to be better than them. I'm going to use them to my advantage because they're giving credibility to what you do, to what I do, right? But we have an advantage. We're better at talking to sellers. We're better at underwriting properties. We're better at talking to cash buyers. And we don't have the overhead that they have. And so now we can use the credibility that they're bringing to the marketplace that this is a real thing. You can actually sell your house as is to an investor, and it's not like you're giving it away. So we used the good from what they were bringing to the marketplace, and we said, okay, they're not going to worry about profitability. We are. We're going to use their credibility. We're going to make a ton of profitable deals like we were talking about here 5 minutes ago, and then we're going to convert that money to passive income and live an awesome life.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, I love asking that question just because it gets like the juices flowing in people's heads. It's like, that's big number. It's not $1 billion. It's not 10 billion, whatever. But it's a pretty big number, and I like how people kind of think through it. But all right, man. Last question to kind of wrap it up, and then we'll kind of just tell the audience where they can find you. But right now, so let's say you're talking to the new guy who's looking to do his first deal, and I know you're pretty passionate on getting people like their first deal, because I am too. A lot of people are. It's like the ticket, to the chocolate factory or whatever. What would you tell them right now, 2019? We're filming this right now, June 24th, 2019. What is like a one tactical move you can give somebody to get a deal in the next 30 days? In your mind, what would it be?
There's several different ways, right? So cold calling, direct mail. You can cold call manually. You can cold call automated. You could door knock, you can send direct mail, you can do Google pay-per-click, you can joint venture with other investors, you can look for the MLS. But if somebody came to me right now, they say I have no money and I need to make 10 grand this month, and this has been my standard answer now for years. When I first got started, even with short sales, we did the calling thing, right? But before that, there was a few months I actually just door knocked. I would get that same foreclosure list and I would door knock. There were so many foreclosures back then. I could find in one zip code, I could easily find 50 or 100 houses that were in that status. And so I would Google Maps, and it used to take longer to Google Maps than it does now, but I could do 20 houses in 3 hours, as long as they were all in the same zip code. Yeah, so I would do that every single day, 3 hours of door knocking. Then I'd go back to my office and I'd deal with paperwork and putting properties in the MLS for the lenders and following up with the lenders and do all the other stuff. But that was all I did for lead generation. It doesn't matter if it's short sales. It doesn't matter if it's foreclosures. But I would be door knocking.
So door knocking pre-foreclosures.
What's that?
Door knocking pre-foreclosures.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would say that's a good one to target because those people, they're pretty much already a lead before you get to them. They need to do something, even whether they're going to or not. And so you're going to find out pretty quickly if you can get a hold of them, if they're going to do something or not. Yeah. But even if you just door knock. So I would say door knocking in general pre-foreclosures. And then while you're out driving foreclosure to foreclosure, right, get a list, map them out before you go so you can drive in an efficient manner around them and end up back at your office. as you're knocking those foreclosures, you also keep your eyes out for properties that look like, maybe they've been owned for a long time and they need some repair, or they're just kind of not maintained very well, right?
Yeah.
Now, when it gets to scaling, there's this stuff, there's other ways to do this so you can still buy your own time back and have other people doing this for you. But that's what I would do. So I'd go to those foreclosures. I'd keep my eyes peeled for those other properties as I was driving around knocking those. And every house that I saw, I would knock in addition to the foreclosures. And what I would do is, I don't just, whenever we door knock, we teach somebody else to door knock. We don't just say, go door knock that house and move on. We door knock that house. We door knock the house next to it on both sides, and then directly across the street. Now, you don't have to stop there. You could just door knock every single house on the street. Hey, do you guys know who owns this house? Especially if they're vacant, right? If you door knock the house directly and they answer, you're going to talk to them. You're already at the appointment. You're there, right? You've got a chance of getting a deal. And if they're not there, door knock next door, because they might say, oh, you know what? No, that house has been vacant, but yeah, I'm still in contact with the seller. They have me go over and check on their plants once a month or whatever, right? Or it might be the third or fourth house. You door knock them. They didn't answer either. You door knock next door. They said, get out of here. Because they were like smoking weed behind the screen, right? And they're like, well, why is anybody at our house? You're like, okay, that didn't work either. So don't be afraid of that thing. And then go across the street, and maybe that person goes, oh, I have no idea who owns it or what the deal is, but I see somebody stop by every Wednesday at about 3:00, right? Well, the next Wednesday, and they put the garbage cans out. Well, the next Wednesday, be there at 3:00. And if they don't show up, be there the weekend after that.
Yeah.
The next Wednesday, and you're going to get them that way. So door knocking, essentially, but door knocking the right way, the right houses, and doing it consistently. Like, I've talked to a lot of people that are new, and they'll say, like, well, I tried this. I've been doing it for about 30 days. Or 60 days sometimes or more. And I'll say, well, how many houses have you knocked? Well, I've probably knocked all in all maybe 30 or 40 houses. And I'm like, well, hold on. If you said you've been doing this now for 60 days, if you just dedicate 3 hours a day, right, even for 40 of those days, and you took off the weekends and Fridays or whatever, there's no reason you shouldn't have door knocked like 200-300 houses. And when they do that, they get to the 200-300 houses. Almost always, they're like, holy smokes, I've done 4 deals. I've done 10 deals, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's dope. I love that. So yeah, that's a good way, because I like to give people like actionable things before we head out, and that's a good one. Dude, get a pre-foreclosure list. Very simple. You can find it on ListSource. You can find videos, and I have a free little course, and I teach you how to do it. I'm sure Josh, if you follow him, he has some videos or whatever. Very simple. You can also figure it out yourself and call ListSource. I'm sure they'll help you. But get a pre-foreclosure list and go knock on them. Love that, man. Cool, man. Before we wrap up, number one, I think it's been an awesome episode. Tons of content going your way. This might be one of those you got to listen to 2 or 3 times, because there's like a lot.
Yeah, and I probably talked, I don't know what we've been talking here for, probably coming up on an hour. It's probably 3 hours worth of content. Everybody out there, I hope you didn't speed up the podcast. I listen to most podcasts on 2, but I'm already talking at triple speed, so you might have to put it to half speed.
Yeah, no, it's true. Josh is one of these, he keeps you going, man. I love it. It's good energy. But yeah, man, so I love it, dude. So tell the audience, I know we spoke a little bit about you're on Instagram, Facebook. How can the audience connect with you? How can they kind of get some value from what you're doing and stuff like that? Where can they find you?
So I'm on all the social media platforms. On Facebook, my personal page is tapped out. I'd love for you to send me a friend request. And if I can accept it, I will. But also go to my page, Josh Gayman. So my name is Joshua Gayman, right? Joshua Gayman, Gayman. But if you go to Josh Gayman, that's my business page. I post 100 times more on that page than I do my personal page. You can follow me there. I'm also on Instagram. It's High Gross 14. Comes from the car dealership, but it works for real estate too, right? Gross profit. We all want that high gross profit. So HIGHGROSS 14. That was my college football number. High Gross 14. And then I'm on YouTube also, Joshua Gayman, my full name, just like that.
Love it.
And then also I would encourage anybody out there, especially if you're in the state of Florida, but really regardless where you're at in the country, we still have a few seats left. And I know you're going to be out there, Raul, in Miami. So August 22nd and 23rd, we do usually 2 to 3 intensives a year. And every intensive's different. So if you're listening in right now, you've already been to an intensive, you're going to want to come to this one. It's going to be the biggest, best intensive we've ever done. Raul's going to come out there and share his best nuggets and join us. It's going to be a ton of fun. But it's a 2-day intensive, and we keep the size of the room intense, right? This is not a several hundred person event. This is an event that if you're committed to getting your first deal, you're going to walk away and you're going to go out there and you're going to get your first deal. If you're already doing deals, but you want to do more deals, or you want to make more gross profit and you want to have less headaches, I promise you're going to walk away with exactly step-by-step how to do that. So anybody that's listening to, I don't have the link in front of me. I think, can you pop the link in?
Yeah, I'll put the link in.
Okay, cool. So I would encourage anybody out there to definitely check that out. Those 2 days are powerful. I always walk away from those events myself. I learn a lot from the people in the room, for sure. When you get that many people like-minded that want to make a lot of money, that are making a lot of money, you just can't help have that energy rub off on you. And those literally fuel me for the next 3 months or 6 months or whatever until we do another one. So those are great.
I love that, man. Yeah, those events are so dope. Me and Josh go to some of those and for the masterminds. And what's so important, and it's kind of not mentioned a lot, I mean, you touch on it, but what's not mentioned is, man, the people that are there, dude, you make some really good friends. And not only that, you'll make some business friends in different states. If you're ever, you'll meet people from Dallas, from Arizona, from Miami, from Florida, Jacksonville, etc. And if you're ever in those states, or if you're ever thinking of investing, you got friends, you have a cousin that says, hey, I want to buy houses in Jacksonville. Okay, cool. You might have met somebody in that event who's doing business and who's serious about it. So guys, no pressure, but I highly suggest you at least check it out. At least check out the page and check out Josh, man. He's doing awesome things. All they can do is pretty much help you, right? And this is an event, I imagine, Josh, that you only want really kind of serious people who actually want to do some business, man.
That's right. Yeah, we typically limit the size of the room, or we always limit the size of the room. So like I said, it's an intense. There's a lot. You're going to get one-on-one time with me. You're going to get one time with Raul. And time to fellowship and learn from the other people in the room. And one of the things too, if you're out there and you're thinking, whether it's this event or any event, as long as you're plugged into the right type of people, the right energy, right, that have the same core beliefs as you do, it'll work for any event, for any mastermind. You plug into the people that don't subscribe to the competitive mindset. Book I read in 2014 changed my life. It's called The Science of Getting Rich. It was written by Wallace Wattles, and Bob Proctor actually handed me a copy of it. I met Bob in LA. He gave me a copy of it. I still have that copy, and I read it almost every day, at least a chapter. You can read the whole book in like an hour. It talks about the competitive mindset versus the creative mindset. The competitive mindset is, well, why would anybody share all their secrets with me in a 2-day event? Or why would the other people in the room share their best secrets with me at a 2-day event? The creative mindset is, there's an abundance of deals out there. There's abundance of money, and we can all do more deals and make more money together. So just a small example of how that transpires. When you go to an event, and we say, this is exactly how we do this cold calling on steroids. This is exactly how we convert sellers to deals. This is exactly how we get these deals sold. This is exactly how we manage and grow our business, right? What happens, and you can take this to your market and do the exact same thing, is people are going to come to you and they're going to want to learn these things. Yeah. And guess what? A certain percentage of them are actually going to do what you teach them to do, right? And they're going to get deals, and they're going to send them to you, and they're going to want to work with them on you or get help. Now, they might not always do it forever, but we've made so much money on deals just in Phoenix, right, from people that we've shared all of our secrets with, that like it is impossible for me to say like, no, I shouldn't have shared so much even in Phoenix, because now we have more competition. Because the reality of it is, there's just that many more people now that don't cost us any money in marketing, any time, that we make deals. We'll do deals together with other people in Phoenix all the time, and a lot of times it's just on a platter. We did a deal here a few months ago. It was a $60,000 wholesale fee in Arcadia, Arizona, very hot area. And the one of my students, he brought me the deal. He said, hey, can you help me get this sold? And I looked at it. I was like, yeah, this thing's going to fly. And we made $60,000 within about 2 hours, got earnest money the same day, and we each made 30 grand. That was just one deal.
Love that. Yeah, I love that abundance mindset. So key. Yeah, guys, I recommend you at least check it out, right? At least check out the landing page, right? At least check out the website and see what he's doing, man. And then obviously you guys have the final decision. But it's something that if you're actually serious about doing deals, it'll for sure help. And you're going to get different perspectives. So love that. But either way, guys, there's a bunch of free stuff online. You can follow Josh. I know he's got YouTube, free videos. I have YouTube, podcasts. So at least do free stuff and then figure, kind of go through it, right?
That's right.
Anyways, Josh, thanks again, brother, for being on. We're going to hop off here. Awesome podcast, tons of content. Like you said, there's about 3 hours of content pushed in like an hour and 10 minutes or so. Yeah. But love that. If you guys are listening to this on the podcast, if you like this stuff, subscribe. YouTube, click the bell, subscribe for that. Anyways, love you guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. Josh, thanks again, brother. Peace.
Peace out, guys.